So let's talk about one of the wildest stories of ambition and, well, deception to come out of Silicon Valley. We're going to unpack a promise that was supposed to change healthcare forever, but instead it turned into a massive multi-billion-dollar lie.
Okay, just picture this for a second. A world where you don't have to deal with those big, scary needles. No more waiting around for days, just agonizing over lab results. Imagine a future where critical health information is right there, at your fingertips, instantly.
And that was the revolutionary pitch. The whole idea was that everything, literally everything you needed to know about your own health could be discovered in one tiny, completely painless drop of blood.
I mean, it sounded like a miracle, right? And for a while, the whole world believed in it. But behind the curtain, that miracle, it was really just a mirage, a very, very carefully built lie that would end up putting a lot of lives at risk.
All right, so let's get into it. To really get your head around the scale of the hype, you first have to understand just how powerful the idea was and the incredible person who sold it to the world. So you have to go back to the early 2000s. There's this 19-year-old Stanford dropout, Elizabeth Holmes, and she has this huge vision. She looks at the world and sees a really basic problem. Getting your blood tested is slow, expensive, and frankly, it's unpleasant. She was going to change all of that.
And this was the simple but absolutely brilliant question at the very heart of her company, Theranos. She didn't just ask the question, though. She convinced some of the most powerful people in the world that she'd already found the answer.
So how in the world did this one simple question just blow up into a global phenomenon? Well, it all came down to the hype. And that hype attracted just staggering amounts of money and influence. $9 billion. I mean, just let that sink in. To give you some perspective, at its peak, Theranos was valued higher than companies like Uber or Airbnb were at the time. And this was all built on a piece of tech that basically no one had ever actually seen work.
And its rise was just meteoric. I mean, she founds the company in 2003 as a teenager, and then the company spends a decade just building this image of success that this thing was inevitable. And it all led to that crazy $9 billion valuation in 2014. And we're not just talking about regular investors here. This was the A-list. The company's board had former secretaries of state, huge billionaire investors, massive corporate partnerships with names you definitely know. So from the outside, Theranos didn't just seem legit. It looked completely unstoppable.
But while the world was seeing this amazing revolution unfold, the employees on the inside, they were seeing something totally different. And behind the scenes, things were really starting to fall apart.
So behind all the slick marketing and all the confident promises, there was this giant gap between the story they were selling and the actual reality in the lab. The core technology, the whole reason the company existed, it was a failure. Employees started reporting that the special blood testing machines, the ones they called Edisons, they just didn't work. They were giving back results that were wildly inaccurate. So to cover it all up, Theranos was secretly running its tests on regular, old lab equipment made by other companies. And this is the part that is so crucial. This went way beyond just fooling investors. This was becoming a public health crisis. You had real patients getting these faulty results. People being told they were sick when they were perfectly fine, or even worse, being told they were healthy when they had a serious condition. Real lives were on the line.
You know, a lie that big just can't last forever. Sooner or later, someone's going to start asking the right questions, and the whole house of cards starts to wobble.
And that someone turned out to be John Carreyrou. He was an investigative reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and he started hearing these whispers that something was very, very wrong at this celebrated company. So he decided to start digging. Carreyrou's investigation was just a masterclass in journalism. He didn't just ask a few questions. He found the people on the inside, the whistleblowers, who were risking their entire careers to get the truth out. He pieced it all together, the tech that didn't work, the lies about using commercial machines, and this toxic culture of fear. His reporting was the match that lit the whole thing on fire.
And the fallout, it was immediate and it was catastrophic. All the big partnerships were canceled, investors sued, and the company that promised to change the world basically collapsed overnight. The $9 billion empire just evaporated.
So, with the company gone, the focus shifted to accountability. How did this happen, and who was really responsible for a fraud on this kind of epic scale? The fall from grace was just staggering. I mean, this was a woman hailed as the next Steve Jobs. She was on the cover of all the magazines. And now she was facing criminal charges. The icon had become a cautionary tale.
And this is the central, haunting question that hangs over this entire story, right? Was she a visionary founder who just flew too close to the sun, who couldn't admit that she failed? Or was this a deliberate, calculated scam from the very beginning? And maybe that's the ultimate lesson here. The story of Theranos is this powerful reminder that the most convincing lies, they're almost always wrapped in the most inspiring promises. People weren't just investing in a piece of technology. They were investing in hope for a better future.